And we have been discussing about two parts to these pictures. One is, of course, the personal, spiritual, and the very personal religious part of it, where Prime Minister is soaking in the spirituality on the occasion. And remember, the planets have aligned for this Mahakumbh after 144 years. And so it's a very special Mahakumbh, not just a full Kumbh which happens every 12 years, but a very special Mahakumbh which happens once in 144 years. So it's a generational event happening. And so everyone who's possible, for whom it's possible to go, is going. And that really reflects in the numbers. So typically, for every Kumbh, there would be anything between 10 to 15 crore people. This time it's about expected to touch about 40 crores in about 40 days. And that gets reflected in the kind of arrangements having been made. Though, of course, there has been a bit of a blip with that stampede, which is being investigated, Deepak. But if you look at the people who have converged this time in Mahakumbh, it's a marker of many changes taking place in society, and the Prime Minister cannot keep himself aloof from it, both as a leader of the people and as one with people. So if a great majority of the country believes that this is a very special spiritual event and occasion, then and if it's getting reflected in the numbers almost 4 times of a regular Kumbh, then how can you keep a leader away from it? So obviously, Prime Minister has to go, and that's where the politics kicks in, because he's a Prime Minister. And so whether as a Prime Minister he should be visiting a Kumbh, and because he's Prime Minister, it becomes a public engagement and a public event. And so whether these pictures, again, the politics around it of whether a Prime Minister should be taking part in this kind of religiosity. We have seen recent pictures of President Donald Trump taking oath on a Bible, like every American president does. Before that, him visiting a church on the day of his oath taking. So it's not special to our geography, our part of the world, but somehow the kind of politics that really panned out post-independence, these were this kind of public participation by a leader was seen as taboo unless it was just about Jawaharlal Nehru. So while the Congress party has been very consciously avoiding appearing at these kind of events, including visiting Ram Temple in Ayodhya, and the same Congress party does not mind slipping in a picture of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru doing a yoga asana, or even taking a dip during Kumbh in his times. So that's the kind of political confusion that the Congress party has come to represent. The same Congress party which almost for a decade practiced soft Hindutva with Rahul Gandhi calling himself Janayudhari Hindu, visiting all the temples, and then suddenly pivoting to left and extreme left, radical left, and dishing all connection with his religion. Also, obviously, because they thought that soft Hindutva is not paying, and Hindutva remains a BJP domain. But when it comes to, and these are the same set of people who would be absolutely comfortable, visiting iftar parties and donning those skull caps just to be seen as one with the electorate. So while there is one electorate which is to be shunned, there was another electorate which had to be engaged and wooed. That was the kind of politics that was practiced. And Narendra Modi personally, and as a politician, has really called the bluff of that politics, and said that if I represent a Hindu majority nation, if I am a practicing Hindu, what's wrong if I go and carry out prayers, rituals, and soak in my spirituality publicly? If Donald Trump can do it, if the Queen of England can be called the defender of faith, or the King of England now can be called the defender of faith, why not the Prime Minister, express his own personal religiosity at such an important spiritual occasion as Mahakumbh? That seems to be happening. As I said, there would be, since he is a leader, He's a politician, politics would follow. So there is a personal aspect of his spirituality and then his politics. And he's absolutely unabashed about it. In fact, it's getting reflected in his governance over the last decade with all those temple corridors from Kashi to Somnath to Ujjain to Devghar and others getting redone, refurbished. And the extent on, combining this religiosity with tourism to even diplomacy. So, for example, when Prime Minister talks about Buddhist circuit and, revamping of all the Buddhist sites, he believed that that's going to connect India with many of the Southeast Asian nations, including, of course, to the east, Japan, and wherever Buddhism is practiced. So he has been giving a fillip to it. We saw how before the elections, as a build-up to the Pran Pratishtha of the Ram Temple in Ayodhya, he himself visited about a dozen odd temples in southern India and spent a couple of days at Rameshwaram also. So these pictures, by way of reflecting Narendra Modi's religiosity, are not new. He has been doing. Remember, he represents Varanasi as a member of Parliament in the Lok Sabha, and every time he goes to Varanasi to inaugurate a project or the other, he makes sure that he is visiting both the Kashi Vishwanath Temple and the presiding deity of the city, the Bhairav Temple, and similarly, wherever he travels, he makes sure that if there is a presiding deity, a famous temple, he just goes and makes a visit. And this is not a soft Hindu for him. This is not for a projection or for politics. It is what he practices. Unlike in the case of Rahul Gandhi, when he was visiting temples, it was a political tool or a strategy to sort of practice soft Hindutva and try to cut into or what the Congress think tank at that time perhaps believed, and then later ditched that strategy of practicing soft Hindutva and sort of try to occupy a space on the BJP side, on the right side. Since it failed, there is a complete turnaround and now pivoting to left and to radical left in Rahul Gandhi's politics. So we are seeing essentially two ideas of India, two very different pictures of India, and the people can choose. The voter can choose, the electorate can choose. There is no election happening as of now, except for Delhi. But even otherwise, since we are discussing politics, Deepak, these two pictures, Rahul Gandhi conspicuous by his absence at Mahakumbh and Narendra Modi very publicly so present there, are two pictures and also two ideas for people to pick up whenever they have politics in the back of their mind. But of course, as I mentioned, there is a personal element to it. When 40 crore people of the country, one-third of the electorate, one-third of the people of the country, and the majority of the population believe that this is a significant spiritual moment and event, why not be part of it? And so Prime Minister, of course, as their leader, has to be seen to be participating in it publicly, and hence he's there.
That's right, Abhishek. While we stay on these pictures, let's also tell our viewers about how the Prime Minister arrived. Then he took a holy dip. Then after that came the Ganga Arti, followed by a boat ride. And now the Prime Minister's back on his way. These are the live pictures coming in from Prayagraj, a moment that will be etched in history. And we'll be right back with the live and rolling coverage from Prayagraj after a quick break. Stay tuned.